Hi, I'm Marianne Mosley, back again to introduce another episode of the Pelican Players Radio Theater. This episode is for you sci-fi fans out there, and it's from the Twilight Zone, and it's called To Serve Man. Enjoy the show.
Welcome. Tonight, Pelican Players, your local community theater for the Sun City Center, Ruskin, Waimama, Riverview, Apollo Beach, and surrounding area, has the pleasure of entertaining you with another show by the Pelican Players Radio Theater. The cast is made up of all volunteer local residents. We will introduce the cast following tonight's show. And now, tonight's performance.
You're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. Your next stop, the Twilight Zone.
Mr. Chambers, Mr. Chambers.
Now what?
It is the meal time. Repeat, meal time.
How exciting.
Kindly state your preference, please.
Do you really think I care?
We have a full menu on board suitable for human consumption. It has been designed to meet your dietary needs.
I don't have an appetite.
That does not compute, Mr. Chambers.
I said I'm not hungry, all right, Ship?
Very well.
I'll let you know when.
Safety alert! Safety alert!
Oh, it's just a cigarette.
Please extinguish all smoking materials at once.
Okay.
Deposit in appropriate receptacle. This is a mandatory safety measure.
I heard you.
Thank you for your cooperation.
This is going to be a long trip.
It is for your own good. Cigarettes are harmful. They are extremely hazardous to your health.
And traveling through outer space is not.
Comparisons are relative.
Is that right?
Please define your frame of reference.
Well, here's a reference for you. The moon.
Which moon?
Anyone will do. Why don't you go take a flying jump at it?
Kindly repeat.
Or forget it.
You do not care for food at this time?
Leave me alone.
You do not care?
Yes, I do not care for food at this time.
Very well.
Very well. Oh, ow! Oh, my hand.
Please refrain from striking the walls of your sleep module.
How do you expect me to sleep if you won't stop talking?
We only seek assurances that your needs are being met.
Yeah, right.
Your well-being is our primary concern. Please conserve water.
A man's got a right to wash his face if he feels like it.
Mr. Chambers, our trip requires the conservation of life-sustaining resources. Please conserve the water supply.
Oh, forget it. I'm going to lie down now. Try to get some shut-eye. Nothing else to do.
As you wish.
Wait, are you there, Ship?
Yes.
What time is it?
Your question is meaningless.
Why?
There is no time and space.
Well, I only want to know.
This is to say there is no chronology that can be calibrated without a reference point.
What time is it on Earth? Can you tell me that without an exercise in Euclidean geometry? Can you tell me that? Just tell me what the time is back home.
What is the location of back home?
New York City.
In New York City, it would be 12 noon.
12 noon. Imagine that.
I do not understand your request. Please rephrase.
Leave me alone now.
You wish solitude?
Yes, I wish solitude.
Very well.
Respectfully submitted for your perusal. 1. Jim Chambers, linguist and cryptographer, formerly attached to the Pentagon. A highly educated individual who can break any code and decipher any language, at least on Earth. A man who shook hands, figuratively speaking, with a modern-day Christopher Columbus from another world. The height of this creature, a little over 9 feet, give or take a few millimeters. Weight, in the neighborhood of 350 pounds. Origin, unknown. Motives, well now, therein lies the tale. And it's no ordinary one. You'd best hear the story from Mr. Chambers himself. Just remember, you're not on the Earth anymore. You're traveling at something close to light speed, on a journey that will take you directly through the Twilight Zone.
"12 noon, somewhere, but not here." This is the way nightmares begin, or more to the point, and very simple, direct, unadorned, incredible, and yet, even while they're happening, we learn to live with them. We digest and assimilate new information as best we can, beginning with the smallest bits, the ones that are easy to process. So, if it's 12 o'clock back home, the only home you've ever known, then that's what occupies your mind. You don't think about 12 noon the next day, or the day after that. But that's what we should have been thinking of, tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. We were preoccupied with the hands on a clock, while we could have checked the days off of a calendar, one by one, and appreciated all that we had while there was still time. It started on an April day. It was noon then, too, and people walked and drove, bought and sold, fretted and laughed as they had always done. The world went tippy-toeing along the precipice of crisis like it had always done. There was the economy to worry about, the wars and the Middle East, and all the other myriad problems, major and minor, that had been with us for years, yes, but somehow they had begun to lose their edge. I suppose because we had grown so accustomed to it. And that's when it happened.
Look, Mommy, up in the sky. What's that?
Why, I don't know.
Something flying in the sky. Must be an airplane.
I know what it is. It's a flying saucer.
It can't be.
Look, it is.
That's when we first heard they had come. And that's when we should have prepared ourselves. But we didn't. Instead, we milled around like farm animals, worried only about our creature comforts, while the Secretary General of the United Nations made the first official announcement. I watched the broadcast, the same as you did, live from the lobby of the UN in New York City. It came from the lobby, not the General Assembly. That rather large auditorium was empty, not due to a long lunch hour, or an ambassadorial walkout, or even the end of the world. The representatives of all nations of the world were at that moment watching their television sets and listening to their radios, much as were people in the countries they represented throughout the world. For as it turned out, this would be a momentous afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, if you could move back, please. I will answer all of your questions.
Move in.
I'm trying.
What do you think is going on?
Mr. Secretary, if we could have a shot of you.
Look at the cameras, please.
May I have your attention? No questions just yet. I have a prepared statement. I say I have a prepared statement. Would you give me your attention, please? I'll read it now, if I may. Ladies and gentlemen, I should like to recapitulate the events of the past 11 days. On the 14th of March, shortwave radio transmission broadcasts were received in the principal capitals of the world. It was established that these transmissions did not originate on Earth. Rather, their origin was extraterrestrial. The first announcements were somewhat simply announcing merely that there would be multiple landings made at various points around the globe. We were assured that these landings would be peaceful and that there was no cause for alarm. Nevertheless, United Nations forces were put on high alert. As you know, these broadcasts continued growing in strength somewhat over the next several days.
Is it true that they've landed?
Please, no questions yet. At 11 this morning Eastern Standard Time, the first of these landings took place in an area just outside of Newark, New Jersey. We have subsequent reports of other landings in Russia, in Norway, the southern coast of France, Rio de Janeiro, and several other locations. It is the position of the United Nations that it would be premature to assume hostile intent. Our recommendation is that the world's countries remain calm, make no hostile moves, and show no force. All governments are being apprised of the events as they develop. The current situation...
What do they look like?
Yeah, what do they look like?
Are they human?
Are they little green men?
What do they want here anyway?
As of this moment, we do not know what they look like, or who they are, or the purpose for their arrival. We know only that several of their craft have touched down and that...
Hold on, Mr. Secretary.
Looks like a guy from the Pentagon.
Must be something big.
Sir, tell them.
You're sure?
Quite sure. It's been cleared with the White House.
It seems that one of the craft has just landed a few blocks away. One of the representatives of the visitors is apparently on his way to this building. It appears that the visitor, will be here shortly and request an audience with the General Assembly. In a few moments, we'll assemble.
Good Lord, look at the size of that guy.
Mr. Chambers, Mr. Chambers.
Yeah?
I think you'd better see this.
What is it? A UN proclamation? They're not in session.
They've called a special assembly. This looks important.
We don't even know where the ships are from. Once we triangulate the signal...
They're here.
Jeez Louise. Look at the size of him. That was the first time I saw him. Or whatever it is. I still don't know. Judging by the Secretary General, it was at least 9 feet tall. And I stood there watching the TV screens just like everyone else. And just like you, I didn't know quite what to think. Funny. I always imagined that first contact would have on some transcendent experience with special effects. The shock of finally seeing the other, something not human. That's not from around here. Definitely not. To be honest, the only thing I felt was a detached scientific curiosity. Was it intelligent? Well, it had to be to travel this far. Did it talk? I was soon to find out. We all were.
Order, please. May I have your attention? Not all of our member nations are here yet, but our visitor has requested an opportunity to address this assembly. For the moment, I would like to ask you all to be patient. Please, order. Remain calm. The floor is yours, Mr.
Ladies and gentlemen of the earth, we greet you in peace and friendship. We come from a planet beyond your solar system and well beyond your galaxy. A planet far more developed than your Earth. We come as friends. Our intentions are honorable. We desire above all things to help the people of Earth.
His lips don't move when he talks.
Get a picture.
What's that book he's holding?
I wonder how much he weighs.
Why are you here?
To establish embassies here and in the near future to set up reciprocal visits between Earth, people, and Canimets.
Canimets? What's that?
That must be what they are called.
Write that down. Canimets. Kanamits.
Speaking on behalf of the people of Earth, we bid you Canimets welcome. How shall I address you?
I have no name, as you understand the term, but you must have many questions. Please, feel free to ask me anything at all, of any nature.
We have a great many questions, but to proceed in an orderly fashion. How did you discover us? How do you know our language? And as to your own planet, what is its political nature and social makeup? Especially, why have you chosen us to visit?
First of all, we must make the following admission. We do not know your language, and further, our own methods of communication are mental rather than verbal. Hence, the voice you hear me speaking is artificially generated. Your words, or rather your thoughts, are received and processed into an automatic translation device, and my responses are in turn electronically altered to simulate your vocal sounds in a language known to you. That is why everyone around your world is able to understand me in their own native tongue.
You cannot speak then. Astonishing. We understand you perfectly.
But as to the other questions, our planet is not visible to you astronomically. It lies far beyond what you call the known universe. But it is highly advanced technologically. Its political and social makeup is highly complex, and I cannot describe it to you without first educating you in some of our basic customs and habits.
Will you be willing to be interrogated here at our United Nations General Assembly building in a special plenary session at which time all our nation's representatives could make inquiries of you? I'm sure they have many questions.
I would be delighted. I believe that is the proper response.
Thank you for your courtesy. Until then.
The Pelican Players Radio Theater will conclude tonight's show in a moment. But first, Pelican Players is your community theater celebrating over 40 years of providing live entertainment. In 2020, we arranged with WSCQ Sun Radio to provide recordings of our Readers Theater performances to be broadcast and streamed from their station and website on the last Friday each month. Pelican Players consists of all volunteer local talent on stage and behind the scenes. Our members perform in our main stage, Murder Mystery Theater, Cabaret Singers, Readers Theater, Comedy Club, Twig Theater, and Radio Theater Productions. Pelican Players is a 501c3 nonprofit with proceeds from our performances going to scholarships for Hillsborough County students in the arts. To date, we have donated over $600,000 to this endeavor. We always welcome new members who have an interest in performing or helping behind the scenes. Even though headquartered in Kings Point, You do not have to live in Kings Point to become a member or attend performances. For more information, please visit our website, www.pelicanplayersscc.org. And now, Pelican Players Radio Theater continues with tonight's performance.
Well, that's it.
I can't get over the size of them. Are you sure they're not using trick photography?
No way. It's a live feed on all the networks. What do you make of that little book?
Oh, it only looks little compared to his hands. It's probably a perfectly normal hardcover.
Nothing normal about it if he brought it all this way.
Maybe it's a dictionary for the most commonly used phrases. Wait, that's not right. They have a translation machine.
A guidebook, then. Protocols, that sort of thing.
There's something printed on the cover. If we could just get a view of it.
It isn't any language we know of. Maybe they're symbols. Any group of symbols can be deciphered.
Even non-human symbols?
That would be a tough one, all right.
If I see the book again, I'll try to get an image of the cover and try to enhance it.
Would you do that, Pat? This may be the challenge of a lifetime. I've got to know what it says.
Come to order, please. Members of the General Assembly, our visitors, the Canamits, have graciously acceded to our request that their representative appears before us to answer any questions. Recognizing Monsieur Levesque, the representative of France. Please use your microphone. You may remain seated.
Monsieur, precisely why have you chosen our planet for a visit?
It has come to our attention that Earth has been plagued by both natural and unnatural catastrophes, all of which could be easily prevented. We are here to help you.
Monsieur, my government wishes me to ask you the nature of your help, huh? What forms will it take? Indeed, if we should choose not to avail ourselves of these various aids that you mentioned, your response would be?
We will not force anything upon you. You may accept only that which you choose. For example, on the morrow, tomorrow, that is, we will demonstrate an alternative power source, molecular in nature, which can supply a form of electricity to entire continents for the cost of a few dollars, or rubles, or francs, or pesos, or any other currency. You will find it extremely economical.
Recognizing Mr. Grigori, the delegate from Russia.
We would like to ask the Canamat directly, man to man. What are your true motives, huh? Why are we to assume that your proposals are so totally altruistic that you have an abiding interest in helping others? Are we further to assume there is nothing beyond this boundless humanity of which you speak?
There is nothing ulterior in our motives. You will discover this for yourselves soon enough by testing the various devices which we will make available.
What devices?
I think the representative has answered your questions.
For example, we can show you a simple way to add nitrate to the soil and end famine on Earth for good. We can demonstrate the principles of a practical force field to cloak each nation with an invisible wall, impenetrable by bombs, missiles, or any other weapon. This will bring international peace for all time. If that is what you want.
That is what we all want.
We ask only that you trust us. Only that you simply trust us.
All he is saying is give peace a chance. What's wrong with that? Wait a minute. Enlarge the image.
Did I just see what I thought I saw? Look at that. He left his book on the podium.
Well, I'll be.
He doesn't seem to have noticed.
I want that book. I have a feeling it will tell us plenty. Everything we need to know.
If we can decipher it.
Call one of the aides on the floor now. Tell them to get that book and get it to us in the code room.
Okay.
That book may turn out to be the most important one ever printed, here or anywhere else in the known universe. Cross-reference this table. Almost got it.
Well, Chambers, what have you almost got?
Start of a migraine headache and a bad case of eye strain. The fastest and largest banks of computers known, and still nothing.
Can't lick it, huh?
Not in 8 hours, I can't. Colonel, it took us almost a year to crack the Japanese code, and we had an army of experts working on it. This is a language of people from outer space, probably 500 times as intelligent as we are, and 1,000 times more complex.
Do you need help?
All donations gratefully accepted. But I showed this stuff to every person on our staff. I've had 12 people working on it since late last night.
And? You must have some idea.
We've tried pretty much everything. Single transposition, double transposition. We've tried every known method of cryptography that there is. More like hieroglyphics, only no known pictographic references.
Is that what they are? Hieroglyphs?
It's like Egyptian writing, only much more complicated. And we have no Rosetta Stone to decode it. So I can't say whether we are closer now or still 1,000,000 miles away.
You're saying it's indecipherable?
We can keep trying, that's all. Standard, direct, reversed, systematically mixed, keyword mixed, random mixed, reciprocal conjugate. Every sequence of letters that we can come up with. But I'm going to tell you something right now, Colonel. This is a tough nut. This is a real tough nut. If it weren't so important...
Oh, it must be. That Canamit, or whatever he calls himself, made reference to it every third line he spoke. The White House seems to feel that if we could decipher his book, we might be able to learn what the Canamits are truly up to.
I'm beginning to wonder if they need deciphering.
What?
Why are we so concerned? They have done all right by us so far.
Oh, you mean those demonstrations so far? Parlor tricks, Chambers. That's all parlor tricks.
They don't seem like parlor tricks, Colonel. That new approach to nitrate use they demonstrated in Argentina this morning, 6 hours later, that soil had more vitamins in it than a drugstore chain.
That doesn't prove anything.
I know that part of the country. That's as barren and fruitless as any place on earth. And there are actual reeds growing in it now, 6 hours after the nitrate process.
And the answer is in this book.
We might lick it, and we might not. But I've got a strange feeling that...
That what?
That we're looking a gift horse in the mouth. And I got another funny feeling, too.
Oh, and that is?
That if these Canamits are as helpful as I think they are, you military boys will be out of a job. Probably so will we. And very likely so will the whole UN. You won't need armies or navies or air forces or security divisions or world courts. I think they'll all be obsolete.
Am I to assume, Chambers, that this is a scientific analysis or just guesswork?
I don't know what it is, Colonel, beyond an instinctive feeling, same feeling tells me that when everyone on Earth gets enough to eat, when there aren't any more wars or diseases or famines, this world is going to be a Garden of Eden that stretches from pole to pole.
Oh, your optimism is refreshing, Chambers. But for the time being, I'd consider it a personal favor, not to mention a direct order from the Chief of Staff, that you continue your process of deciphering until you can break this code or this language or whatever it is, and tell us precisely, and I mean precisely, what the damn book says.
I'll do my best.
I tried a new computer sequence. We've licked the title of it anyway.
You translated it? What does it say?
The title is To Serve Man.
That makes the cheese a little more binding, doesn't it, Colonel? I call that a reasonable altruistic phrase. That was the title of the book, no doubt about it. Pat and the rest of the staff had done it. Come up with the template to arrive at the title on the cover. At least they had uncovered the Canaan's intentions. Everything they had said was quite literally true. They were here for our sake. Of course, not all governments were persuaded. So at a closed session of the Security Council, our visitor was put to the test. The Pentagon provided me with credentials so I could attend, and I jumped at the chance. This was one meeting I couldn't afford to miss. If it went according to plan, the world would find out what, if anything, the cannabis wanted for themselves, and whether the price, if there was one, was something the Earth could afford to pay. Though I, for one, didn't expect any surprises. Would you? Never in a million years.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. If you'll please be seated. The purpose of this meeting is to acquaint you with certain tests conducted over the past week. At the request of several delegates and the full consent of our guests, the Kennamits, these tests were photographed and recorded, and you can watch them now. The tests were conducted by members of the National Science Academy and witnessed by a team of experts. If you'll watch the monitor in the front of the room, lights down, please. Begin the tape.
This machine is a polygraph. It is the standard instrument for testing the truth or falsity of a statement. Since the physiology of the Canamit is unknown to us, we had to first determine whether they react to these tests as human beings do. We will now proceed with a dry run to establish a baseline reading. Are you ready?
I am ready.
I trust our small chair is not too uncomfortable.
Not at all.
The sensor attached to the torso measures the subject's pulse rate. The second attachment shows the electrical conductivity of the skin in the palm of his hand, a measure of perspiration which increases under stress. And this instrument shows the pattern and intensity of the electrical waves emanating from the brain. With human subjects, these readings vary markedly depending on whether the subject's speaking the truth.
I understand.
You can see that the machine needle indicators are not moving until I ask the Canamit a question. I asked the Canamit, between humans and Canamits, who is taller?
Humans.
I shall now repeat the question. Which of these is taller than the other, a human or a Canamit?
A Canamit.
Next question. How did you come to this planet?
We walk.
Once more, how did you come to this planet?
In a spaceship.
My colleagues and I are satisfied that the mechanisms are effective. Now I shall ask our distinguished guests to reply to the question put at the last session by several delegates, namely, what is the motive for the Calumet people in offering these great gifts to the people of Earth?
On my planet, there is a saying, there are more riddles in a stone than in the philosopher's head. The motives of intelligent beings, though they may at times appear obscure, are simple things compared to the complex workings of the natural universe. Therefore, I hope that all the people of Earth will understand and believe when I tell you that our mission upon this planet is simply this: to bring to you the peace and plenty which we ourselves enjoy, and which we have in the past brought to other races throughout the galaxy. When your world has no more hunger, no more war, no more needless suffering, that will be our reward.
Thank you most profoundly.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Lights out, please.
I should like to propose a question.
Yes, Grigori.
Who is responsible for that circus?
I assure you, Grigori, these tests were quite genuine.
A circus, a second-rate farce. If they were genuine, Mr. Secretary, why has debate been stifled?
There'll be time for further debate tomorrow, the next day, and throughout the week. No one is stifling debate.
Oh, monsieur, I would like to remind the delegate from Russia that everything the Calumet has promised has not only worked, but worked beyond our most hopeful expectations. The first field was tested yesterday morning, and we suddenly find ourselves in a brave new age with no fear of a hydrogen bomb or missile or any sort. We are on the threshold of peace, Monsieur Grigori. Peace as we've never known it. Niet, I say, niet.
After that, there was no stopping the Canamits. They were everywhere, performing miracles of one sort or another around the world. Famine became a thing of the past. The fertility of the land increased 100%. The force field proved impervious to any known weapons. Then came a cure for cancer. Heart disease ended, all from a simple injection. It's hard to say if the Canamits enjoyed their role as savior. Their eyes were set so wide apart and set so deep in those big, bland faces that you couldn't read an expression, with only a tiny circular hole for a mouth that never moved. It was impossible to know what they were thinking because they never spoke. They weren't stern faces, only controlled, almost like kindly masks. And they all looked exactly alike, sounded the same as well. Two calm, mechanical voices that came out from the translation devices under their robes. And then, one day, you're all out of a job, just as I had predicted. The computers and fail-safe machines in the Pentagon were idle, covered in plastic sheets, because no one was needed to run them anymore. As for code breakers, I might as well have stayed home. But something kept me working, like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Mr. Chambers.
Over here, Pat.
I'm going home, boss. Need me for anything?
Need you for anything? Like what? This is not what you'd call a beehive of activity.
Oh, you can say that again. The new story of mankind. Nobody needs to decipher anything anymore because there aren't any more codes. Simply because there aren't any more secret messages.
I know. Drink? One for the road.
All right. Odd.
What is?
I mean, not reading about war scares or insurrections or anything like that anymore. There's a rumor going around that they're going to disband the United Nations inside of a month.
There you go. The new millennium. Cheers.
Cheers. How many Canamets are there now? Anybody ever figured it out?
A few thousand, I guess. They've got embassies in every country now. And for every one that comes, 1,000 of us takes off in one of their ships to live with them.
The reciprocal visits they promised.
Now, that's the odd thing. The ease with which human beings adapt. One day they watch with bated breath while an astronaut orbits around the world in a rinky-dink tin can, and they think it's the biggest moment in the history of mankind. A few decades later, they stand in line waiting to get on a ship that'll take them a zillion miles into space, and they act and react as if it were a weekend picnic in the country. That's human beings for you. Nothing phases them.
So, are you planning to go to Canamet?
I'm on one of the 10-year exchange group's waiting list. What about you, Patty?
I'm on the list too. The trouble is their quota's filled within 24 hours after they make the announcement of a new trip. But while we're waiting, I think I'll do the next best thing. I'm still working on the book.
Good idea. Words reflect the values of the people who use them. If we can understand the vocabulary...
I've got a fair command of it now, and it's not that hard, really. And there are hints. The shades of meaning, the nuances. Some of the idioms are quite like English. That's how we unlocked the title of the book. I think I'll get the answer eventually.
More power to you, Patty. I gave up a month ago. But if I can help you in any way... Did I say something?
If you could help me. That was the phrase, wasn't it? The only thing you can help me with is...
Is what?
Help me get rid of this knot in my stomach.
What are you talking about?
One of those nightmares when you know something is wrong, but you don't know what it is yet. A little bit of the old sixth sense, if you will.
Tells you what?
That tells me that maybe we should have looked this gift horse in the mouth after all. For all we know, it could turn out to be a Trojan horse.
Oh, I don't think we have anything to worry about. After all, I'm going where no man has gone before. How can I resist? Relax. I'll tell you all about it when I get back.
Please stay in line. This way to the boarding platform.
They tell me you've got a mean temperature of 76 degrees on their planet, and the sun never goes down.
And their clothing, it's a metallic substance. Just beautiful. Kind of like a spun gold. And my sister says the day you land, they take you on a conducted tour through all their shops, and you can pick up as much of it as you want.
It's just one big holiday when you get there. They even got a form of baseball or something like it, leagues and everything just like here. Man, I don't think I'll want to come back once I do get there.
And the whole trip, and it's billions of miles, mind you, the whole trip only takes just a few days.
Oh, we're moving.
Good. We're ready to leave. Isn't this exciting?
Please keep the line moving. Watch your step. This is flight number 914 from Earth to Canamet. We will be taking off in 3 minutes.
Look, they're opening the door to the spaceship.
I hope there will be other kids my age there.
Boarding pass, please. Mr. Chambers, proceed.
Thank you.
Mr. Chambers! Mr. Chambers!
Pat, hi. You're just in time to say goodbye.
Don't get on that ship!
Are you kidding? I've been waiting 6 weeks for this.
You can refuse. There's still time.
Don't say that out loud. Well, there'll be 1,000 people trampling over the two of us to take my place.
Please move ahead. You're holding up our departure, Mr. Chambers. Kindly move ahead.
I finally deciphered their language.
That's
all
great.
of it. I read their book.
Please move ahead. You're holding up our departure. Please move up the ramp.
One moment. Well, Pat?
Mr. Chambers, the first page is just a collection of English phrases with their own translation. But the rest of the book.
Will you move, mister?
We're waiting to get on board.
Step through the doors, Mr. Chambers. Now.
Write me about it. I'll have plenty of time to read letters. I'm going up there for a rest more than anything.
We must close the doors, Mr. Chambers.
Not so much time as you think, Mr. Chambers. The rest of the book. To serve man. It's a cookbook.
What? Patty, what did you say? It's a cool book?
Please move ahead, Mr. Chambers.
No, Mr. Chambers. It's a cookbook. A cookbook!
The Recollections of one Jim Chambers, with appropriate flashback and soliloquy, or, more simply stated, the evolution of man, the cycle of going from dust to dessert, the metamorphosis of being the ruler of the planet to an ingredient in someone's soup. The very explicit and very specific differences in points of view. To the wee ones, the little folk called man, it's a marvelous adventure, a voyage to another planet, an exciting sojourn to another section of the heavens. But to the very large, granite-faced inhabitants known as Canamites, it's nothing more than a cattle car, a very comfortable supply ship, bringing food from the other end of the universe to a place where appetites must be enormous. Like I say, it's all in the point of view in this corner of the Twilight Zone.
Thank you for listening to the Pelican Players production of The Twilight Zone, To Serve Man. Twilight Zone created by Rod Serling. To Serve Man by Damon Knight and Rod Serling. Adapted for this production by Ken Winter. The cast: Host, Ed Brown. Chambers, Jimmy Sapia. Canamit, Mike Galasuski. Pat, Sue Bernagozzi. Ship and Reporter 1, Donna Fiore. Secretary and Male Voice, Steve Klein. Reporter 2 and Female Voice, Hildy Klein. Levesque, Gregory, and the Colonel, Dan Tackett. Scientist and Young Child, Jeannie Laffer. Directed by Ron Deitch. Sound effects, Ken Winter and Dan Meyer. Sound technicians, Keith Postal, Harlan Postal, and Lori Phelan. With post-production, Bob Delamere.
We hope you can join us the last Friday night of each month for another Pelican Players Radio Theater show. Please be safe, stay well, and thanks for listening. Good night.